Welcome to the first Quick Sports Shorts 365 Podcast. I'm your host, Cedric Evans. This will be my first episode in the series, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Thank you for the support that I've gotten in the first from all of my shorts that I've produced, the likes, the views, everything. I greatly appreciate it from you guys. Let's get into it. So, obviously, the NBA Finals ended last night. Inside of 5 games, the Boston Celtics took home their record 18th straight NBA championship, the most in league history. Jaylen Brown won Finals MVP, which I thought was highly agreeable, and I'm happy that he won it because he showed up. He was consistent. He was consistent. He was efficient. He was aware defensively, offensively, had great rebounds, great blocks, steals, and also showed great initiative and embracing the challenge of taking Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving on. Jason Tatum performed well. He could have done a lot better, but from the effort that he gave, he did great, because at the end of the day, they're champions and you have to respect that. From the start going into the series, after they lost Porzingis in the Indiana series in the Eastern Conference Finals, you were wondering, okay, so where's the rim protection going to come from and all of that stuff before they got to the NBA Finals. But they lost Porzingis in the Indiana series. They went on to continue that and end it decisively. But starting with Game 1 of the NBA Finals, we all wanted to know how will Porzingis perform, and he came right out the gates on fire. Blocks, rebounds, three-point shots, post-up shots. He was hitting everything, and the brother could not miss. He was doing everything that a former round 1 pick should do. Yet another pick fumbled by the New York Knicks, but not a diss there. That's just facts. The decisiveness that you saw in the beginning of the series, immediately, from my perspective, you could see that Jason Tatum was not going to be Finals MVP because he immediately deferred to Porzingis. And I understand that you feed the hot hand and everything. I got that. But at some point, if you're going to be the star of a franchise, you have to show initiative and efficiency, as well as leading your team. And don't get me wrong, he led his team perfectly. But to start Game 1, if you wanted the championship as bad as your mate Jaylen Brown, the Finals MVP, you would be expected to produce a little bit more than what you did. Don't get me wrong, his assists were pinpoint, on cue, on target. He certainly did a whole lot better this year than he did in 2022, because I can't recall him actually getting a 30-point game in that series. But kudos to Jrue Holiday and Derek White, the best defensive backcourt that I have ever seen. Not only did they maintain Luka, but they also put a bottle cap on Kyrie Irving to take him out of play, so that way they wouldn't have to deal with 2 of them, with the both of them together. Derek White, clutch blocks, and rim protection that I've seen from a point guard, or shooting guard, in a while. Jrue Holiday, first team all defense, obviously, so you know that he's going to come with the best defense that he can bring to the table. Also, it was a hell of a deal for them to go and trade Marcus Smart, to get him out of there, and then bring Jrue Holiday in. And it turned out that Jrue Holiday was the missing piece. Jrue Holiday has 100% solidified himself on two teams as a key piece to their championship runs. First with Milwaukee after he got traded there, and then to the Boston Celtics after he arrived there this season. He's now been a part of two trade scenarios where he has been or turned out to be the missing piece for each team. Now, going forward, let's see how they do it. Let's see how they manage the egos and how they go about winning going forward. Hold on a second, I'm sorry about that. I adjust my camera. And adjust their teams going forward. Let's see if they can stay humble and stay on the side of team of brotherhood and teammates, and let's see if they don't let their egos clash. But the biggest wild card, I kid you not, had to have been Quicksportshorts Porzingis. How he came out, complete domination in game one, took over the game. Him and Drew Holiday and Derek White, they just came out there going crazy. 3 rejections, if I'm not mistaken, 3 or 4 rejections. I want to say 7 of 9 from the field, 2 3-pointers. Like, Porzingis was just cooking. He was doing everything that you're supposed to do. Yet another first-round pick that people gave up on because of shortcomings and production, as they did Andrew Wiggins after he got traded from the Cavaliers to the Timberwolves, and then ultimately with Golden State and ended up being their missing piece, as Drew Holiday is the missing piece for Boston. If anything, Jason Tatum should be taking notes and learning how to understand that going forward, even though I'm not knocking him, he did a hell of a job. So when you watch this, I'm not knocking Jason Tatum. The dude deserves it. After all the ups and downs, the losses, being a big piece of a turnaround is a huge challenge for any young player. So I commend him on that. Jaylen Brown, I think, has established himself as the face of the Boston Celtics, with winning the Finals MVP and Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Because even when they lost in 2022, Jaylen Brown gave maximum effort and immediately showed that he was there to win a championship. Without Jaylen Brown's effort, along with others, Al Horford, Marcus Smart and them, they don't win 2 games. They do not win 2 games at all. They do not win 2 games without that effort. And you saw at the beginning of the season that Boston was hell-bent on reaching the NBA championship for the 18th time. The next thing now that they didn't win the championship is now to see how they handle the pressure next season, because now they're marked. And they're hungry. Pardon me, sorry. They're not hungry. They were hungry last night when they finished the series in 5 games. Let's see how much they can deal with the pressure of defending that championship as the predecessors did. Now, with that being said, congratulations to Boston. After a 16-year drought of championshipless basketball, they are now NBA champions. And we're looking to see where this goes from here. Do they possibly push for a 19th banner next year? Or do my Warriors push for banner number 8? It does not matter. Now, moving on. So, again, congratulations to the Boston Celtics. You're 2024 NBA champions. I'm happy for you guys. Moving on. Now, let's talk about boxing. We all know that there are a multitude of fights that need to happen, that are vital right now to the sport of boxing. Okay? Vasily Lomachenko is what I've been reading about, him and Tank. Obviously, everybody wants to see Benavidez and Canelo. And then I'm reading talks about Crawford and Canelo in Saudi Arabia. Those fights right there. Let's talk about Tank and Vasily Lomachenko. That would be a great fight, but I'm not knocking Tank because of his power. His power is one-dimensional, and it can literally change a fight on a dime. But with that being said, Vasily Lomachenko is just different. We all know Lomachenko is just different. Like, Buddy can box. He can box his way out of a cardboard box or a matchbox and still give you the best show ever. And as I said on one of my posts, if you want to beat Tank, you got to have finesse. You got to have finesse. You got to be able to box him from the outside and also go for the win, not for glory. And when I say don't go for the win, when I say go for the win and don't go for glory, I mean for this. Whether you win on what you're winning on. If you're winning on points, you win on points. If a knockdown happens, it happens. Don't force the issue trying to beat Tank at his own game going toe-to-toe, because you will get slept. Or don't assume that you're up, that you need to press him. Do not press him. Just stick to winning by points. The only way I see somebody beating Tank is if they stay on the outside, work the jab, and put their combos together and move their head. That's the only way I see somebody beating Tank. Now, as for Tank, everybody say Vasily Lomachenko, the ultimate challenge. To me, that's one of the ultimate challenges, but the super ultimate challenge will have to be Inoue, the monster. That fight happens, it will be a war, toe-to-toe, fisticuffs the entire fight. Because they're both solid fighters, good boxing ability, head movement, power. Both have power that can change the fight on a dime, and that is exactly the fight that I would love to see it between those two. But as we know, boxing is a business, and if the numbers ain't right, it may never happen. With that being said, does Tank... I have a feeling that Tank is going to... I'm not knocking Lomachenko. Like I said, I think he would give Tank the best fight ever and the hardest fight. But I would see Tank unifying the titles first and foremost. I think he would probably go after Devin Haney. I think that's who he would go after first. If he wants to go about unifying the titles, I would go after Devin Haney first. And I will go after Lomachenko after him. Because I'm not saying Devin Haney would be easy. By no means am I saying that, because he's a hell of a fighter. But I do think that he would be a target for Tank because of what happened with Ryan Garcia earlier this year. Or at least, pardon me, not this year. A couple months back. Quite a few months back, I'm sorry. Because I'm pretty sure when Tank sees Devin Haney, he sees not an easy target, but someone that he can put to sleep relatively early. Because if you couldn't take a left hook from Ryan Garcia, what are you gonna do from a straight left from Tank on a straightaway when he catches you going on your back foot? Like, what are you going to do? Because let me tell you, if you got a broken jaw from Ryan Garcia, Tank is gonna be a lot worse. A lot worse. Let me see. And then obviously with the heavyweights, you have Alexander Usyk, the first Ukrainian heavyweight champion, undisputed heavyweight champion. He's getting ready for his rematch with Tyson Fury, and I've been reading around Tyson Fury said he's coming for him and that he's ready. The landscape of boxing has completely changed. And as far as David Benavidez go, if he wants to fight Canelo still, all he has to do is this, in my book. Beat beat Dimitri Bivol because Canelo couldn't do it. And beat Arthur Beatrice. Get the titles together, and make Canelo. That'll make the fight happen. You hold all of the light heavyweight belts. I guarantee you, Canelo will come calling for that fight to happen. What else? Let me see. There are a lot of fights that can happen. Shakur Stevenson, I haven't heard much about him. I don't know who he's gonna fight next, but it should be entertaining. Teofimo Lopez has a fight coming up. I have to do more research on that, but it looks like he'll be pretty good. As I said before, my dream fights 115% have to be Inoue versus Tank. Tank versus Lomachenko. Benavidez versus Canelo if it happens, and then Crawford versus Canelo. Now, with the Crawford versus Canelo fight, that is a gigantic double-edged sword because you have two fantastic counterpunchers. Both of them have knockout power, and both of them will be on high alert in that fight. If you ask me, it could go either way, but I would have to give the edge to Bud because he would be the smaller fighter, but he would also be the faster fighter. He's more accurate, more precise, and more sharp, if you know what I mean, more sharp. If it goes Canelo's way, he would have to establish his power immediately with Crawford and make Crawford stay on the outside. And if he does that, that will be Crawford's downfall because we've all seen when Crawford gets hurt, he gets mad and then he gets even. He tries to go back and even the fight up by rushing in. And if he does that against Canelo, he can get beat. That's really a chess match. Like, that is really, really a very, very hard chess match with those two because you can't pick one without choosing the other, and vice versa. As for boy, it is, oh my God, it's just so many different fights that I would love to see happen, and it's hard to speak on them all. It'll be an interesting year for boxing to see how far this goes and how much more we get to see from these fighters before they're ultimately done. I'm sorry, because it's just, oh my God, it's just picturing so many different scenarios. Asked for, I can't pronounce his last name, but his first name is Young. Congratulations on him for getting his knockout against Deontay Wilder. Hopefully this puts him in position to play for one of the belts at heavyweight. Maybe him and Anthony Joshua will meet up for an eliminator to figure out who fights the winner of Usyk and Fury after their rematch. There's gonna be a lot to be said over the next couple of months, maybe years in boxing, because titles are forever changing hands, forever on the move. All it depends on is if the fighters want to fight and not worry about a paycheck. Even though, don't get me wrong, I want to get the right amount of money too, but that's just how I look at it. Like, if you guys are both combatants and you guys got a problem, then let's sign a contract, let's do it. Here's another thing. The Caleb Plant and Ryan Garcia altercation that occurred at the Tank versus Martin fight. I understand that people were talking smack or whatever on social media. I got that, but you don't got to throw no drinks in nobody's face, brother. You don't have to do that. You really don't. all know that you are a badass. You don't need to go around throwing drinks at people, dog. If a fight does happen between Garcia and Caleb Plant, oof, that's gonna be a long night for anybody. But I think I would have to give the edge. No disrespect to Caleb Plant, I would give the edge to Garcia if that fight was to materialize. I would definitely give the edge to Garcia. But because he won't be as drained, he can put on some extra weight and he'll be fine. But why did you have to throw water in the brother's face or whatever was in that cup? Why did you have to throw it in Buddy's face? Why? Just why? But it is what it is. All right, I thank you guys for tuning in for the first episode of the Quick Sports 365 Podcast. I'm your host, Cedric. Y'all have a good day.